So let's do the getCountryOfAnAuthor method next. To return a country of a specific author, let's first have a look at the authors class. You can see that the author contains a navigational property of country. This is how the two classes and the tables in the database are connected. That means that our DB context has an access to this property and we can select from it. So let's go back to the repository. And this time we want to go to the authors DB set to look for the author whose ID is being passed here as the argument. So we will start with return and we'll get our country context dot, and like I said, this time we don't go to country, we go to authors. And just like we did when we selected a single country, we will select the author using the where clause and a lambda expression that compares the ID of the author with the ID that is passed into the method. So we'll do .where, and then we'll get the A for author goes into a.id. That would equal the author ID that's passed as the argument. But here's the thing. This code would give us the author and not the country. To get the country, we now need to go to the country property of the author and select the country of this author. So we will append a select statement. So after we select the author ID, we'll do another select and another lambda expression in it. And in the lambda expression, we will select the country object associated with this author. So C for the country, and it goes into C.country. That's the property. And just like we did before, we will use the first or default method to make sure that we either find a matching record or return a null. So after that, we'll still append first or default. So again, we go to the authors, where we select the author that matches the author ID, and then from the record, we don't want the author information, we want to select the country. So we'll do select and select the country that belongs to that author. And we return the first or default, meaning we'll return the first record we find, or we will return null if no record is found. And next, we can create a call that returns all authors from a specific country. So we'll go up here, and that's the get authors from a country. Now to do that, it'll be somewhat similar to the previous method, which was the get country of an author. So I'm gonna copy paste that. I'll select the whole thing and paste it right here. So let's modify that. And we still need to use the authors, but we are looking for a country to match. So we need to match the country ID with the ID in the argument. So I'll rename this to C for country. And we want the country ID. So it's the country property and the ID of it inside the author that matches the country ID argument right there. I'll delete the rest because we don't need that. What we want is the collection of authors that belong to this country. So I'm going to convert the result to list. And these are our get methods. But while we're here, let's create one more method, and that is not really a method that we will be getting any information from, but this one will serve as the input validation. I want to be able to verify that the country we are looking for actually exists. So this method will return a boolean true or false depending if the ID of the country exists or not. So let's go back to our interface iCountry repository and add that method. So like I said, it will return a boolean and we will simply check if the country exists. So I'll name it country exists, and we have to pass the country ID in it and check if it exists. So we added it into our interface. So now when we go back to our repository, you can see it's underlined because it's missing this method implementation. So I'm just going to implement it, and it adds it right here. And we can start with our return statement. And now all we need to do is go to our country context, and we are checking if the country exists. So we'll do that and go into the countries DB set. And what we need to do is to check if any of the countries in the countries context has the ID that matches the country ID. So we can use a method called any. So we will do dot any, and we'll check if any country has that ID. So again, we'll do a lambda expression. C for country goes into, we'll check if the country ID matches the country ID. So it basically will loop through all the countries and check each country's ID with the argument country ID, and if it exists, it will return true, and if it doesn't, then it will return false. And we will actually add these checks into each of our repository as we go through, because it makes sense for us to validate the input for each of the objects that we are searching for. But for now, let's just concentrate on our country repository, and with this, we are basically finished. So next, we are ready to create the controller and put everything in place.